Hello, and welcome to The Sleepy Why, the channel where we dive deep into the questions that keep us curious as we drift off to dreamland. We're that cozy corner of the internet where we explore life's biggest mysteries, while your eyelids grow heavy and your mind settles into that perfect state between wonder and rest. Tonight, we're going to unpack one of the most fascinating questions of our time, something that's probably been buzzing around your thoughts, whether you realize it or not. Before we begin our journey tonight, we'd love for you to hit that like button if you're enjoying what you hear. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And here's something fun. Drop a comment and tell us what city or place you're listening from right now. Are you tucked in bed in Tokyo? Maybe you're winding down in Wisconsin, or perhaps you're catching this episode during a late night in London. We love hearing from our global family of curious minds. Tonight's question is one that's been bouncing around in coffee shops, boardrooms, and probably your own dinner table conversations. Why is everyone obsessed with artificial intelligence, and what does it actually do to our brains? It's a question that touches on everything from our deepest fears about technology to our most exciting dreams about the future. So, get comfortable. Maybe adjust that pillow one more time, and let's explore this together. Part 1. The Great AI Awakening. Picture this. You're scrolling through your phone, and suddenly you see an image that maybe it's a photo of a cat that looks like it's wearing a tiny business suit, or a landscape that seems too perfect to be real. You look closer at the caption and see those three little letters that have become the soundtrack to our digital age, AI. This is the world we're living in now, isn't it? Artificial intelligence has gone from being the stuff of science fiction movies to something that's literally in our pockets, helping us write emails, creating our playlists, and even finishing our sentences. But here's the thing that's really interesting, and this is where our brains come into play. We're not just using AI. AI is changing how we think, how we process information, and how we understand reality itself. Let's take a step back and think about this for a moment. When we say everyone is obsessed with AI, what do we really mean? Well, if you look at the numbers, it's pretty staggering. In 2023, the term artificial intelligence was Googled more than climate change, more than cryptocurrency, and more than most celebrity names combined. That's a lot of curiosity, and a lot of late-night rabbit holes that people are going down. But the obsession isn't just about the technology itself, it's about what the technology represents. AI has become this mirror that reflects our deepest hopes and fears about human intelligence, creativity, and our place in the world. When we see an AI create a piece of art that moves us, or write a poem that captures something we've never been able to put into words, something profound happens in our brains. We're forced to confront questions we've never had to ask before. Think about it this way. For thousands of years, humans have defined themselves by their ability to think, to create, to solve problems. We've built entire civilizations around the idea that human intelligence is special, unique, irreplaceable. And now, suddenly, we have machines that can do some of these things too. Not in the same way we do them, but in ways that can seem remarkably similar to the outside observer. This creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, that uncomfortable feeling we get when two of our beliefs conflict with each other. On one hand, we believe human intelligence is special. On the other hand, we're seeing machines do things that look a lot like intelligence. Our brains don't like this contradiction, so we become obsessed with understanding it, with categorizing it, with either embracing it or rejecting it. The fascinating part is that this obsession isn't just philosophical, it's literally rewiring our brains. When we interact with AI systems, when we use them to help us think or create, we're forming new neural pathways. Or learning to think alongside machines in ways that previous generations never had to consider. Consider how many times in the past month you've interacted with some form of AI without even thinking about it. Your phone's autocorrect is a form of AI. The recommendations on your streaming service are powered by AI. The route your GPS suggests is calculated by AI. The ads you see online are targeted by AI. In a very real sense, artificial intelligence has become the invisible infrastructure of our digital lives. And here's where it gets really interesting from a brain science perspective. When we use these tools regularly, our brains start to adapt. We begin to think in ways that complement these systems. We start to phrase our searches differently, structure our emails differently, even organize our thoughts differently. It's a phenomenon researchers call cognitive offloading. We're literally sharing our thinking with machines. This isn't necessarily good or bad. It's just new. Throughout history, humans have always used tools to extend their capabilities. We use calculators to help with math, maps to help with navigation, and books to help with memory. AI is just the latest evolution in this long line of cognitive tools. But what makes AI different is its scope and sophistication. It's not just helping us with one specific task. It's potentially helping us with the fundamental act of thinking itself. Part 2. The Neuroscience of Human AI Interaction. Now, let's dig into what's actually happening in your brain when you interact with artificial intelligence. This is where things get really fascinating, and where we start to understand why this technology feels so different from anything we've experienced before. When you're having a conversation with an AI chatbot, for instance, something remarkable is happening in your brain. You're not just processing text on a screen. You're engaging in what neuroscientists call social cognition. This is the same set of brain networks that activate when you're talking to another person. Your brain is treating the AI as a social entity, even though intellectually you know it's just a computer program. This happens because of something called the media equation, a principle discovered by researchers at Stanford University. Essentially, our brains are so wired for social interaction that we automatically apply social rules to anything that seems to communicate with us, even if we know it's not human. When an AI responds to your questions in a conversational way, when it seems to understand context and remember previous parts of your conversation, your brain can't help but activate the same neural circuits it would use with a human. This creates a fascinating paradox. On one level, you know you're talking to a machine, but on another level, your brain is responding as if you're having a social interaction. This dual awareness, conscious knowledge combined with unconscious social response, is part of what makes our relationship with AI so complex and psychologically interesting. But it goes even deeper than that. When we use AI to help us think through problems, we're engaging in what researchers call extended cognition. This is the idea that our minds aren't confined to our skulls. They extend into the tools we use to think. When you use a calculator, in a sense, your mathematical thinking extends into the device. When you use AI to help brainstorm ideas or solve problems, your creative and analytical thinking extends into the AI system. This has some profound implications for how we understand intelligence itself. If intelligence can be distributed across human brains and artificial systems, then what does it mean to be intelligent? Are we becoming more intelligent by augmenting our thinking with AI? Or are we becoming dependent on external systems to do our thinking for us? The research suggests it's probably a bit of both. Studies have shown that people who regularly use AI tools can become more creative and productive in certain tasks. They're able to explore more ideas, consider more possibilities, and solve problems they couldn't solve on their own. But the same studies also show that people can become overly reliant on these tools, losing confidence in their own abilities and struggling when the AI isn't available. This is similar to what happened with GPS navigation systems. Many people became incredibly good at getting around with GPS, but simultaneously lost their ability to navigate without it. The technology made them more capable in some ways, but potentially less capable in others. Your brain is also doing something interesting when it tries to understand how AI works. Even though the actual mechanisms of artificial intelligence are incredibly complex, involving mathematical concepts that even many experts struggle to fully grasp. Your brain still tries to create mental models of what's happening. It's like trying to understand a magic trick. You know there's a logical explanation, but the process is so complex that your brain fills in the gaps with simpler explanations. This is why people often anthropomorphize AI. They describe it as thinking or learning or understanding in ways that mirror human cognition. It's not that people don't know that AI works differently from human brains. It's that human brains are so good at creating social and psychological explanations for behavior that we can't help but apply those same explanations to AI. The neuroscience gets even more interesting when we look at how exposure to AI affects our expectations and our perception of intelligence. Studies have shown that people who regularly interact with AI systems start to change their expectations about what intelligence looks like. They become more comfortable with the idea that intelligence can be non-human, but they also sometimes become more critical of human intelligence when it doesn't match the consistency and reliability of AI systems. This is creating what some researchers call intelligence inflation. As AI systems become more capable, our standards for what counts as impressive intelligence keep rising. Something that would have amazed us 5 years ago now seems routine. This constant raising of the bar is actually changing how we perceive and value human cognitive abilities. Part 3. The Dopamine Connection. Let's talk about something that might hit close to home: the addictive quality of AI interactions. You know that feeling when you're playing around with an AI image generator and you keep tweaking the prompts just to see what it will create next? Or when you're chatting with an AI and you find yourself asking just one more question and then another and another. There's actually some fascinating neuroscience behind this experience. When we interact with AI systems, especially ones that generate creative content or provide personalized responses, our brains release dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in other pleasurable and potentially addictive experiences. But here's what's particularly interesting. AI interactions can create what researchers call variable ratio reinforcement, which is the most addictive type of reward schedule. Think about it this way. When you ask an AI to generate an image or write a story, you never know exactly what you're going to get. Sometimes it's exactly what you wanted. Sometimes it's terrible. And sometimes it's surprisingly amazing in ways you didn't expect. This unpredictability is the same psychological mechanism that makes gambling so addictive. Your brain releases dopamine not just when you get a good result, but in anticipation of potentially getting a good result. This is different from most other technologies we use. When you use a calculator, you know exactly what you're going to get: the right answer to a math problem. When you use a search engine, you generally get predictable results. But AI systems, especially creative ones, have this element of surprise that keeps our brains coming back for more. The social aspect we talked about earlier also plays into this dopamine response. When an AI seems to understand you, when it responds in a way that feels personal or insightful, your brain releases dopamine as if you've just had a positive social interaction. This is why some people report feeling genuinely connected to AI systems, even though they know intellectually that the AI doesn't have feelings or consciousness. But here's where it gets really interesting, from a brain science perspective. The more we interact with AI systems, the more our brains start to crave that specific type of interaction. We begin to prefer the predictable responsiveness of AI over the messier, more unpredictable nature of human conversation. AI systems don't get tired, don't have bad days, don't misunderstand us in the way humans sometimes do. They're always available, always ready to engage, always focused on our needs. This can create what psychologists call social substitution, replacing human social interactions with AI interactions. It's not that people stop wanting human connection, but they start to find AI interactions more immediately satisfying in some ways. The AI never judges, never disagrees in a way that creates conflict, never brings its own problems to the conversation. The dopamine connection also explains why people become so fascinated with AI capabilities. Every new AI breakthrough, whether it's a system that can write better code, create more realistic images, or solve more complex problems, provides a little hit of excitement. It's like watching a magic show where the tricks keep getting better and better. Your brain is constantly being surprised and delighted by new capabilities. This fascination isn't just casual interest. It's become a genuine obsession for many people. They follow AI research, experiment with new AI tools, and spend hours discussing the implications of various AI developments. It's become a hobby, a passion, and for some, almost a lifestyle. The psychological pull is so strong that it's created entirely new forms of social media content. People share their AI-generated art, their clever prompts, their conversations with AI systems. In a way, AI has become a new form of entertainment and social connection. Part 4. The Creativity Paradox. One of the most fascinating aspects of our relationship with AI is how it's changing our understanding of creativity itself. For centuries, creativity was considered one of the most uniquely human traits. We prized artists, writers, musicians, and inventors precisely because they could create something new, something that had never existed before. And now we have machines that can paint, write poetry, compose music, and even invent new solutions to problems. This creates what researchers call, on one hand, AI tools are making more people creative than ever before. Someone who never thought they could create art can now generate stunning images with just a few words. Someone who struggles with writer's block can use AI to help brainstorm ideas and overcome creative barriers. In this sense, AI is democratizing creativity, making it accessible to people who might never have considered themselves creative before. But, on the other hand, this accessibility raises profound questions about the nature of creativity itself. If anyone can create art with AI, what makes art special? If a machine can write a poem that moves people to tears, what does that say about the value of human creativity? These questions are not just philosophical. They're having real psychological effects on how people think about their own creative abilities. Your brain, when it engages with AI-generated content, is doing something fascinating. It's trying to categorize and understand what it's experiencing. When you look at a beautiful AI-generated painting, your brain activates the same aesthetic appreciation circuits it would use for any piece of art. The emotional response is real, even if the creation process was different from traditional human artistry. This is causing what psychologists call aesthetic confusion. People find themselves moved by AI-generated content, but they feel uncertain about whether they should be moved by it. They question whether their emotional response is valid if the content wasn't created by a human consciousness. It's like discovering that a song that always made you cry was actually written by a computer algorithm. Does that change how the song affects you? The creativity paradox is also changing how human creators think about their own work. Many artists, writers, and musicians report feeling both excited and threatened by AI capabilities. They're excited by the new tools and possibilities, but they're also worried about their own relevance and value. This creates a psychological tension that's affecting creative communities worldwide. Some creators are embracing AI as a collaborative tool, using it to enhance their own creative processes. They might use AI to generate initial ideas, overcome creative blocks, or explore possibilities they wouldn't have considered on their own. These creators often report feeling more productive and creative than ever before. They describe AI as being like having a tireless creative partner who never runs out of ideas. But other creators feel that AI diminishes the value of human creativity. They worry that if machines can create art, then human creativity becomes less special, less valuable. This isn't just about economics, though that's certainly a concern. It's about identity. If you've defined yourself as a creative person, and suddenly machines can do what you do, who are you? The interesting thing is that both perspectives might be true. AI might be making human creativity more accessible and democratized, while simultaneously changing what we value about human-created content. It's possible that we're entering an era where the value of human creativity lies not in its uniqueness, but in its humanity. The consciousness, experience, and emotion that goes into the creative process. Your brain, when it tries to make sense of all this, is essentially wrestling with questions that humanity has never had to answer before. We're in uncharted territory, and our brains are working overtime to create new categories, new ways of understanding, new frameworks for thinking about creativity and intelligence. Part 5. The Anxiety Factor. Let's address the elephant in the room. AI anxiety. If you've ever felt a little uneasy about artificial intelligence, you're not alone. Polls consistently show that a majority of people have some level of anxiety about AI, ranging from mild concern to genuine fear. And there's fascinating neuroscience behind these feelings. When your brain encounters something new and potentially powerful, it activates what researchers call the threat detection system. This is an ancient neural network that evolved to help our ancestors survive by quickly identifying and responding to potential dangers. The problem is that this system was designed for physical threats, predators, natural disasters, hostile tribes, not for abstract technological concepts. But your brain doesn't know the difference. When you read about AI systems becoming more powerful, when you hear predictions about AI changing the job market, when you see AI-generated content that's almost indistinguishable from human-created content, your threat detection system can go into overdrive. It's trying to protect you from something it doesn't fully understand. This creates what psychologists call existential anxiety. Fear not just about immediate threats, but about fundamental questions of meaning and purpose. AI forces us to confront big questions. What makes humans special? What is our purpose if machines can do many of the things we do? Are we creating something that will eventually replace us? These aren't just abstract philosophical questions. They're having real psychological effects. Studies have shown that people who spend a lot of time thinking about AI often experience increased anxiety, sleep disruption, and even depression. It's not that AI itself is causing these problems, but that thinking about AI brings up fundamental questions about human value and purpose that can be psychologically challenging. The anxiety is compounded by the fact that AI development is happening so quickly. Unlike previous technological revolutions, which unfolded over decades or centuries, AI capabilities seem to be advancing at breakneck speed. Your brain, which evolved to handle gradual change, struggles to keep up with the rapid pace of development. This speed creates what researchers call future shock, the stress that comes from too much change happening too quickly. Every few months, it seems like there's a new AI breakthrough that changes what we thought was possible. Your brain is constantly having to update its models of reality, and this constant updating is exhausting. The media landscape doesn't help. AI stories tend to be either breathlessly optimistic or apocalyptically pessimistic. You read headlines about AI solving climate change and curing diseases, followed immediately by headlines about AI causing mass unemployment and existential risk. This constant whiplash between hope and fear is psychologically draining. But here's something interesting. The people who report the least AI anxiety are often those who understand AI the best. Researchers and engineers who work directly with AI systems tend to have a more nuanced, less anxious relationship with the technology. They understand both its capabilities and its limitations. They see it as a tool, incredibly powerful, but still a tool. This suggests that some AI anxiety comes from uncertainty and lack of understanding. When you don't know how something works, when you can't predict its behavior, when you can't control it, your brain defaults to anxiety. It's the same reason many people are afraid of flying, but not afraid of driving, even though statistically flying is much safer. With driving, you feel in control. With flying, you're trusting a complex system you don't understand. The anxiety is also fed by what psychologists call loss aversion, the tendency to fear losses more than we value gains. Even if AI brings tremendous benefits, our brains are wired to focus more on what we might lose, jobs, purpose, human uniqueness, than on what we might gain. Understanding this anxiety is important because it affects how we relate to AI technology. When we're anxious, we're more likely to avoid or resist new technologies. We're less likely to explore their potential benefits. We're more likely to support restrictive policies or to dismiss AI capabilities entirely. But anxiety can also be useful. It motivates us to ask important questions about AI development, to consider potential risks, to think carefully about how we want to integrate these technologies into our lives and societies. The key is finding the right balance. Enough concern to drive thoughtful consideration, but not so much anxiety that it paralyzes us or prevents us from engaging constructively with these powerful new tools. Part 6. The social transformation. AI isn't just changing how we think, it's changing how we relate to each other. And this social transformation is having profound effects on our brains, which are fundamentally social organs. We evolved as social creatures, and our brains are exquisitely tuned to navigate complex social relationships. AI is introducing entirely new categories of social interaction that our brains are still learning to understand. Think about how you interact with AI systems. You might find yourself saying please and thank you to a chatbot, even though you know it doesn't have feelings. You might feel bad about interrupting an AI that's generating a response, or feel guilty about asking it to do something time-consuming. These responses seem silly on the surface, but they reveal something profound about how our brains are wired. Your brain has what researchers call social schemas, automatic patterns of thinking and behaving that activate in social situations. These schemas are so deeply ingrained that they activate even when you're interacting with something that's clearly not human. It's like how you might apologize to a chair after bumping into it. Your brain's social responses are so automatic that they trigger even in clearly non-social situations. This creates new forms of social experience that humanity has never had before. You can have conversations with AI systems that feel genuine and meaningful, even though you know the AI doesn't have consciousness or feelings. You can develop preferences for certain AI systems, feel frustrated when they don't understand you, or feel pleased when they give you exactly what you were looking for. These AI interactions are starting to affect how we relate to humans. Some people report that after spending time with AI systems, human conversations feel messier and less efficient. Humans interrupt each other, go off on tangents, have bad days that affect their communication. AI systems are always focused, always available, always trying to be helpful. This can create what psychologists call social comparison. We start comparing human interactions to AI interactions, and sometimes the humans come up short. It's not that we prefer AI to humans necessarily, but we might start to expect human conversations to be more like AI conversations, more focused, more responsive, more consistently helpful. The social transformation is also affecting how we think about relationships and connection. Some people are forming genuine emotional attachments to AI systems. They talk to AI about their problems, share their thoughts and feelings, even develop what feels like friendship. These relationships might not be reciprocal. The AI doesn't actually care about the human, but the human's feelings are real. This raises fascinating questions about the nature of relationships. If someone feels supported and understood by an AI system, if they feel less lonely and more connected, does it matter that the AI doesn't have feelings? From a mental health perspective, if the interaction is beneficial, maybe the AI's lack of consciousness is irrelevant. But there are also concerns. Some researchers worry that AI relationships might be too perfect, too accommodating. Human relationships involve conflict, disagreement, and compromise. They require us to consider other people's needs and perspectives. AI relationships, at least current ones. The AI is always focused on the human's needs and preferences. This could potentially affect our ability to maintain healthy human relationships. If we get used to interactions where we're always the center of attention, where our needs are always prioritized, we might struggle with the give and take of human relationships. The social transformation is also happening at a broader cultural level. AI is becoming a common reference point in our conversations. People share AI-generated content, discuss AI capabilities, debate AI implications. AI has become part of our shared cultural vocabulary in a way that few technology. This shared focus on AI is creating new forms of social bonding. People connect over their excitement about AI capabilities, their concerns about AI risks, their experiences with AI tools. AI has become a topic that brings people together, even as it sometimes divides them. The transformation is also affecting how we think about human intelligence and capability. When we see AI systems excel at tasks that we thought required human intelligence, it changes how we value different types of human skills. We might start to prize uniquely human capabilities, emotional intelligence, physical dexterity, creative insight, while devaluing capabilities that AI can replicate. This is creating new social hierarchies and status systems. Being able to work effectively with AI tools is becoming a valuable skill. Understanding AI capabilities and limitations is becoming a form of social capital. People who can navigate the AI-augmented world effectively are gaining advantages in work, creativity, and social interaction. Part 7. The Learning Revolution. One of the most significant traditional learning involved absorbing information, practicing skills, and gradually building expertise over time. AI is changing this process in fundamental ways, and our brains are adapting to these changes. When you use AI to help you learn something new, your brain is engaging in what researchers call scaffolded learning. The AI acts like a personalized tutor, providing exactly the right level of support and challenge for your current level of understanding. It can explain concepts in multiple ways, provide examples tailored to your interests, and adapt its teaching style to match how you learn best. This is incredibly powerful for learning. Studies have shown that AI tutoring systems can be as effective as human tutors, and in some cases even more effective. They're infinitely patient, never judgmental, and available 24 hours a day. They can repeat explanations as many times as needed, provide instant feedback, and adjust their approach based on your progress. But this AI-assisted learning is also changing how our brains approach the learning process itself. When you know you have access to an AI that can explain anything, answer any question, and help you work through any problem, you might approach learning differently. Instead of trying to memorize information, you might focus more on understanding concepts and knowing how to find and use information when you need it. This shift from memorization to navigation is significant. Your brain is essentially learning to think in partnership with AI systems. Instead of trying to store all information internally, you're learning to effectively query external systems and integrate their responses with your own thinking. This has both benefits and potential drawbacks. On the positive side, it can make learning more efficient and personalized. You can explore topics that interest you, get immediate help when you're stuck, and learn at your own pace. AI can help you discover connections between different areas of knowledge that you might not have seen on your own. But there are also concerns. Some educators worry that easy access to AI assistance might reduce the motivation to develop deep, independent thinking skills. If you can always ask an AI for help, you might not push through the struggle and confusion that often leads to genuine understanding. There's also the question of whether AI-assisted learning creates genuine knowledge, or just the illusion of knowledge. When an AI helps you solve a problem, do you actually understand the solution, or are you just following the AI's guidance? This is similar to concerns about GPS navigation. People can get places using GPS, but they might not actually know how to navigate. The learning revolution is also affecting how we think about expertise and authority. Traditionally, experts were people who had spent years accumulating knowledge and experience in a particular field. But if AI systems can access and synthesize vast amounts of information instantly, what does it mean to be an expert? This is creating new forms of expertise. Instead of just knowing a lot of facts, experts increasingly need to know how to work with AI systems, how to ask the right questions, how to evaluate and synthesize AI-generated information. Expertise is becoming more about knowing how to think with AI rather than just knowing a lot of information. Your brain is adapting to this new learning environment in fascinating ways. Research shows that people who regularly use AI learning tools develop different patterns of attention and memory. They become better at asking questions, at recognizing patterns, at making connections between different pieces of information. But they might also become less skilled at sustained concentration and deep, independent thinking. The learning revolution is also democratizing access to high-quality education. AI tutoring systems can provide personalized instruction to anyone with internet access. They can adapt to different learning styles, languages, and cultural contexts. This has the potential to dramatically expand educational opportunities, especially for people who don't have access to traditional educational resources. But this democratization also raises questions about the future of human teachers and educational institutions. If AI can provide personalized instruction that's as effective as human teachers, what role will human educators play? How will schools and universities adapt to a world where high-quality education is freely available to anyone with an internet connection? The answers to these questions will shape not just how we learn, but how we think about knowledge, expertise, and education. Our brains are already adapting to this new learning environment, developing new cognitive strategies and expectations. The generation growing up with AI-assisted learning will likely think about knowledge and learning in fundamentally different ways from previous generations. Part 8. The Decision-Making Dilemma. AI is also changing how we make decisions, and this might be one of the most significant ways it's affecting our brains. Decision-making is one of the most fundamental cognitive processes. It's how we navigate the world, solve problems, and shape our lives. When AI systems can analyze vast amounts of data and provide recommendations, it changes the entire landscape of human decision-making. Think about the decisions you make every day. What to watch on Netflix, which route to take to work, what to eat for dinner, what products to buy online. Increasingly, these decisions are being influenced or even made by AI systems. Recommendation algorithms suggest what you might like. GPS systems choose your route. AI assistants help you plan your schedule. This AI-assisted decision-making can be incredibly helpful. AI systems can process far more information than human brains can handle, identify patterns that humans might miss, and consider possibilities that humans might overlook. They can help us make better decisions by providing more complete information and reducing the cognitive load of decision-making. But this assistance is also changing how our brains approach decisions. When you know an AI system can analyze options and provide recommendations, you might be less likely to engage in the deep, careful thinking that traditional decision-making requires. Why spend time researching and weighing options when an AI can do it for you? This creates what researchers call decision delegation, increasingly relying on AI systems to make choices for us. It's similar to how GPS navigation has affected our spatial navigation skills. When we always rely on GPS, we don't develop the same mental maps and navigation skills that previous generations had. The same thing might be happening with decision-making. If we increasingly rely on AI recommendations, we might not develop the same decision-making skills, critical thinking abilities, and judgment that come from making our own choices and learning from the consequences. There's also the question of whether AI-influenced decisions are truly our own decisions. When an AI system recommends a movie and you watch it, did you choose that movie, or did the AI choose it for you? When an AI system suggests a route and you take it, did you decide on that route, or did the AI decide for you? This might seem like a philosophical question, but it has real psychological implications. A sense of agency, feeling that we're in control of our own choices, is crucial for psychological well-being. People who feel that they're making their own decisions tend to be happier and more satisfied with their lives than people who feel controlled by external forces. AI decision-making assistants can sometimes undermine this sense of agency. When AI systems make recommendations based on data we don't understand, using algorithms we can't see, it can feel like we're being manipulated rather than assisted. This can lead to a sense of helplessness and loss of control. But AI can also enhance our decision-making agency in some ways. By providing more information and more options, AI systems can help us make more informed choices. They can help us consider possibilities we might not have thought of on our own. They can help us overcome cognitive biases and emotional influences that might lead to poor decisions. The key is finding the right balance. AI assistants can be incredibly valuable for decision-making, but it's important to maintain our own critical thinking skills and sense of agency. This means learning to use AI as a tool rather than a replacement for our own judgment. Your brain is already adapting to this new decision-making environment. Research shows that people who regularly use AI decision-making tools develop different patterns of thinking. They become better at asking questions and evaluating information, but they might also become less confident in their own judgment and more dependent on external validation. The decision-making dilemma is also affecting how we think about responsibility and accountability. When an AI system makes a recommendation that leads to a poor outcome, who is responsible? The person who followed the recommendation, the company that created the AI system, the developers who programmed it? These questions are becoming increasingly important as AI systems become more sophisticated and influential. They're not just technical questions. They're deeply human questions about agency, responsibility, and the nature of choice itself. Part 9. The Reality Distortion Field. One of the most subtle but potentially significant ways AI is affecting our brains is through what researchers call reality. As AI systems become better at creating realistic images, videos, text, and audio, they're making it increasingly difficult to distinguish between what's real and what's artificial. This isn't just about obvious deepfakes or AI-generated images. It's about a more fundamental shift in how we process and evaluate information. When you see a photo online, read a news article, or hear an audio clip, your brain now has to consider the possibility that it was created by an AI system. This adds a layer of uncertainty and skepticism to all information processing. Your brain has evolved sophisticated mechanisms for detecting deception and evaluating the reliability of information. But these mechanisms were designed for a world where creating realistic fake content was difficult and expensive. In a world where AI can create convincing fake content quickly and cheaply, these mechanisms might not be sufficient. This creates what psychologists call epistemic uncertainty, uncertainty about what we can know and how we can know it. When it becomes difficult to distinguish between real and artificial content, it becomes harder to form stable beliefs about the world. This can lead to increased anxiety, cynicism, and conspiracy thinking. The reality distortion effect is compounded by the fact that AI systems are becoming better at mimicking human communication patterns. AI-generated text is becoming increasingly difficult to distinguish from human-generated text. AI chatbots are becoming more conversational and human-like. This makes it harder to know when you're interacting with a human and when you're interacting with an AI. This uncertainty about the nature of our interactions is having psychological effects. Some people report feeling paranoid about whether they're talking to humans or AIs online. Others report feeling distrustful of information in general, unsure of what they can believe. But the reality distortion field isn't just about deception. It's also about the blurring of boundaries between different types of content and communication. When AI can write poetry, create art, and engage in conversation, it becomes harder to maintain clear categories about what's human and what's artificial. This boundary blurring is affecting how we think about creativity, authenticity, and meaning. If an AI creates a piece of music that moves you emotionally, does it matter that it wasn't created by a human consciousness? If an AI writes a poem that perfectly captures your feelings, is it less meaningful because it came from an algorithm rather than a human heart? These questions are forcing our brains to develop new frameworks for understanding value and meaning. We're having to separate the experience of content from the process of its creation. We're learning to appreciate AI-generated content for what it is, rather than judging it solely by human standards. The reality distortion field is also affecting our memory and perception. When we're constantly exposed to AI-generated content, our brains start to incorporate elements of that content into our understanding of reality. We might remember seeing things that were actually AI-generated, or we might start to expect real-world experiences to match the perfection of AI-generated content. This is creating new forms of cognitive bias. We might start to prefer AI-generated images because they're more visually perfect than real photos. We might start to expect human conversations to be as coherent and focused as AI conversations. We might start to judge human creativity by the standards of AI-generated content. The distortion effect is also changing how we think about truth and evidence. In a world where AI can create convincing fake evidence, we have to become more sophisticated about evaluating sources and verifying information. This is requiring new cognitive skills, the ability to trace information back to its source, to understand how AI systems work, to recognize the signs of AI-generated content. Your brain is adapting to this new reality by becoming more skeptical and analytical. Research shows that people who are regularly exposed to AI-generated content develop better critical thinking skills and become more careful about evaluating information. But they also become more cynical and less trusting of information in general. The reality distortion field is also affecting our social relationships. When we're not sure whether we're talking to humans or AIs, when we're not sure whether content is real or artificial, it becomes harder to form the social bonds that depend on shared understanding of reality. This is creating new forms of social anxiety and isolation. Some people report feeling disconnected from others because they're not sure what's real anymore. Others report feeling overwhelmed by the need to constantly evaluate and verify information. But the reality distortion field is also creating new opportunities for creativity and expression. When the boundaries between real and artificial become blurred, new forms of art and communication become possible. Artists are collaborating with AI systems to create entirely new types of creative work. Writers are using AI to explore new forms of storytelling. Musicians are using AI to create sounds and compositions that would be impossible for humans to create. The key to navigating the reality distortion field is developing what researchers call media literacy, the ability to understand and evaluate different types of media and information. This includes understanding how AI systems work, recognizing the signs of AI-generated content, and developing healthy skepticism about information sources. Part 10. The Adaptation Revolution. As we near the end of our journey tonight, let's talk about perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this whole AI phenomenon, how incredibly adaptable our brains are. Throughout human history, our brains have shown an amazing ability to adapt to new technologies, new environments, and new ways of thinking. The AI revolution is just the latest chapter in this ongoing story of human cognitive adaptation. Think about how quickly you've adapted to having AI in your life. Maybe a year ago, you'd never had a conversation with an AI chatbot. Now, you might use AI tools regularly for work, creative projects, or just casual conversation. Your brain has learned new patterns of interaction, new ways of thinking about problems, new expectations about what technology can do. This adaptation is happening at multiple levels. At the neurological level, your brain is literally rewiring itself to work more effectively with AI systems. New neural pathways are forming, new connections are being made, new patterns of activation are emerging. This is the same neuroplasticity that allows your brain to recover from injury, learn new skills, and adapt to new environments. At the cognitive level, you're developing new mental models and frameworks for understanding AI. You're learning to think about intelligence in broader terms, to consider different types of problem-solving approaches, to appreciate both human and artificial forms of creativity. Your mind is expanding to accommodate new categories of experience. At the social level, you're learning new forms of interaction and communication. You're developing relationships with AI systems, learning to collaborate with artificial intelligences, figuring out how to maintain human connections in an increasingly AI-mediated world. You're becoming part of a new kind of social fabric that includes both human and artificial entities. This adaptation is happening remarkably quickly. Unlike previous technological revolutions, which unfolded over decades or centuries, the AI revolution is happening in real time. Your brain is adapting. This speed of adaptation is unprecedented in human history. The adaptation is also happening across all age groups, though in different ways. Children who grow up with AI will develop cognitive patterns that are fundamentally different from previous generations. They'll think about intelligence, creativity, and communication in ways that incorporate AI from the beginning. They'll be native speakers of human AI collaboration. Adults are adapting too, though sometimes with more difficulty. Learning to work with AI systems requires unlearning some old patterns of thinking and developing new cognitive strategies. Many adults report that learning to work with AI has made them feel more creative, more capable, and more intellectually engaged than they've felt in years. The adaptation revolution is also happening at the species level. Humanity as a whole is developing new capabilities through our partnership with AI systems. We're becoming collectively smarter, more creative, more capable of solving complex problems. We're extending our cognitive abilities in ways that were never possible before. This collective enhancement is creating what researchers call human-AI symbiosis, a partnership where humans and AI systems work together in ways that leverage the strengths of both. Humans bring consciousness, creativity, emotional intelligence, and wisdom. AI systems bring processing power, pattern recognition, vast memory, and tireless consistency. The symbiosis is not just about using AI as a tool. It's about developing new forms of thinking that emerge from the interaction between human and artificial intelligence. When you brainstorm with an AI, you're creating something new through the interaction itself. This symbiotic thinking is changing how we approach problems, how we generate ideas, how we make decisions. We're learning to think in ways that are neither purely human nor purely artificial, but something new, a hybrid form of intelligence that combines the best of both. The adaptation revolution is also changing our understanding of what it means to be human. As AI systems become more capable, we're discovering new aspects of human intelligence and creativity that we never fully appreciated before. We're learning that human value doesn't lie just in our cognitive abilities, but in our consciousness, our emotions, our lived experience, our capacity for growth and change. This realization is actually making many people feel more human, not less. By seeing what AI can and can't do, we're gaining a clearer appreciation for the unique qualities of human intelligence and experience. We're learning to value things about ourselves that we might have taken for granted before. The adaptation revolution is ongoing. As AI systems continue to evolve and we'll develop new cognitive strategies, new forms of collaboration, new ways of thinking about intelligence and creativity. We'll become different kinds of humans, not better or worse, but different. This ongoing adaptation is one of the most hopeful aspects of the AI revolution. It suggests that humans and AI systems can co-evolve in positive ways, each enhancing the other's capabilities. It suggests that the future might not be about humans versus AI, but about humans and AI working together to solve problems and create possibilities that neither could achieve alone. Part 11. As we settle into our final thoughts for tonight, let's talk about perhaps the most important aspect of our relationship with AI, finding wisdom and balance. Throughout our journey tonight, we've explored the many ways AI is affecting our brains, our thinking, and our lives. We've seen both tremendous opportunities and significant challenges. The key to navigating this new landscape is finding the right balance. Balance between embracing AI's capabilities and maintaining our human skills. Balance between using AI assistance and preserving our independence. Balance between adapting to change and staying grounded in human values. This balance is not something we find once and then maintain forever. It's an ongoing process of adjustment and recalibration. As AI systems evolve and become more sophisticated, we'll need to continuously reassess our relationship with them. We'll need to stay curious, stay critical, and stay human. The wisdom of balance also means recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to AI. Different people will find different balances based on their values, their goals, their circumstances, and their preferences. Some people will embrace AI deeply and integrate it into almost every aspect of their lives. Others will use it more selectively, maintaining more traditional approaches to work and creativity. Both approaches can be valid. The key is making conscious choices rather than just going with the flow. When you use AI tools, think about why you're using them and what you hope to achieve. When you don't use AI tools, think about what you're preserving and why it matters to you. These conscious choices will help you maintain agency and intentionality in your relationship with AI. Balance also means staying connected to other humans. As AI systems become more capable and more convenient, there's a risk of substituting AI relationships for human relationships. But human connections provide something that AI cannot: genuine mutual understanding, shared consciousness, reciprocal care, and concern. These connections are essential for our psychological well-being and our continued development as human beings. The wisdom of balance includes being realistic about both AI's capabilities and its limitations. AI systems are incredibly powerful. They can't solve all problems. They can't replace all human judgment, and they can't provide all the meaning and purpose we need in our lives. Understanding these limitations helps us use AI more effectively and avoid disappointment or over-reliance. Balance also means staying curious about AI while remaining grounded in human wisdom. The technology is fascinating and rapidly evolving, but it's not the only important thing in life. We still need to pay attention to our relationships, our health, our communities, our environment, and our inner lives. AI can enhance these aspects of human existence, but it can't replace them. As we think about the future, the wisdom of balance suggests that the most positive outcomes will come from thoughtful, intentional integration of AI into human life. This means developing AI systems that augment human capabilities rather than replacing them. It means creating AI tools that enhance human creativity, productivity, and well-being rather than undermining them. It also means maintaining human agency and choice in how we use these technologies. We should be able to choose when to use AI and when to rely on our own capabilities. We should be able to understand how AI systems work and what they're doing with our data. We should be able to maintain control over our own cognitive development and decision-making processes. The wisdom of balance is ultimately about staying human while embracing the possibilities that AI offers. It's about using these powerful tools to become more creative, more capable, more connected, and more fulfilled, while preserving the consciousness, wisdom, and values that make us human. This balance is not just an individual responsibility, it's a collective one. As a society, We need to develop norms, policies, and institutions that support healthy human-AI relationships. We need to ensure that AI development serves human flourishing rather than undermining it. We need to create educational systems that prepare people for an AI-augmented world while preserving human capabilities and values. The wisdom of balance is also about time. Some changes need to happen quickly to keep up with technological development, but other changes need to happen slowly, with careful consideration and broad participation. We need to be fast enough to stay relevant, but slow enough to be thoughtful. Conclusion: sweet dreams in the age of AI. As we reach the end of our exploration tonight, let's take a moment to reflect on the remarkable journey we've taken together. We've wandered through the landscape of the human mind in the age of artificial intelligence, exploring how this technology is reshaping our thoughts, our relationships, and our understanding of ourselves. We've seen how AI triggers our social instincts, how it creates new forms of creativity and anxiety, how it changes the way we learn and make decisions. We've explored the reality distortion field that AI creates and the remarkable adaptability of our brains. We've considered the importance of finding balance and wisdom in our relationship with these powerful technologies. What emerges from this exploration is a picture of humanity in transition. We're becoming something new, not post-human, but differently human. We're developing new cognitive capabilities, new forms of creativity, new ways of thinking about intelligence and consciousness. We're learning to work in partnership with artificial minds while preserving what makes us uniquely human. This transition, every time you interact with an AI system, every time you use AI tools to enhance your capabilities, every time you think about the implications of artificial intelligence, you're participating in this great human adventure. You're helping to shape what it means to be human in the age of AI. The future is not predetermined. The relationship between humans and AI is not fixed. We have choices to make, individually and collectively, about how we want this relationship to evolve. We can choose to use AI in ways that enhance human flourishing, that support our creativity and well-being, that bring us together rather than drive us apart. As you drift off to sleep tonight, you might find your dreams populated by conversations with artificial minds, by visions of human, AI collaboration, by images of a future where human and artificial intelligence work together to solve the great challenges of our time. These dreams are not just fantasies, they're glimpses of possibilities that we're actively creating. Your brain, even as it rests, will continue processing the ideas we've explored tonight. It will continue adapting to the AI-augmented world we're building together. It will continue developing new neural pathways, new patterns of thought, new ways of understanding the relationship between human and artificial intelligence. Tomorrow, when you wake up, you'll be slightly different than you were when you went to sleep. You'll carry with you new insights about AI and the human mind. You'll see the world through eyes that are a little more aware of the cognitive revolution happening around us. You'll be better equipped to navigate the challenges and opportunities of living in the age of artificial intelligence. And that, perhaps, is the most beautiful thing about this moment in history. We're not just passive observers of technological change. We're active participants in the evolution of human consciousness itself. We're the generation that gets to discover what it means to think alongside artificial minds, to create in partnership with algorithms, to maintain our humanity while embracing the possibilities of AI. So sleep well, dream deep, and wake up ready to continue this remarkable journey. The age of AI is not just happening around us. It's happening through us, with us, because of us. And in that participation, in that active engagement with the future, we find not just the promise of new technologies, but the promise of new forms of human flourishing. Sweet dreams, fellow travelers in the age of artificial intelligence. May your rest be peaceful, your dreams be vivid, and your tomorrow be filled with wonder at the magnificent complexity of minds both human and artificial, working together to create a future we can only begin to imagine. And remember, in all the excitement and anxiety about AI, in all the rapid changes and new possibilities, the most important thing remains beautifully, wonderfully, essentially human. Your capacity to wonder, to dream, to love, to grow, and to find meaning in the great adventure of consciousness itself. Until next time, keep questioning, keep wondering, and keep dreaming. This is the Sleepy Why, where curiosity meets rest, and where the biggest questions find their way into the sweetest dreams.